Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Danelle here at Networkchain. Let's go ahead and get right into it. We see that Bitcoin is currently trading above $100,000. It is at $103,246 at time of this recording. Ethereum is finally above 2,000, actually making a nice run. As you can see, it's up over 32% over the past week, currently trading at over $2,400. XRP is up 8.5% at $2.39. Solana is up 15% at $171. Dogecoin up above 20 cents at 22 cents. It's up over 26% over the past week. Cardano up over 11%. And Tron rounding out the top 10, currently up over 5%. So we're definitely starting to see, since Bitcoin is moving, some of the altcoins are definitely starting to make a major move as well. Obviously, we'll see if this will hold. If Bitcoin is able to hold above 100,000, we potentially could be in this range for a little while, maybe between 95 to 105 over the next several weeks. Obviously, time will tell. We'll also keep you posted on that, but we definitely see that we could potentially be in the continuation of the bull run since, I would say, around the beginning of 2024 or so. So some of the big news that's come out in the Bitcoin industry and space over the past week is the addition of more Bitcoin Treasury companies. And basically what we mean by that are companies that are solely maintaining the idea of accumulating Bitcoin using corporate opportunities and leverage to be able to buy as much Bitcoin as possible and then be able to have different financial opportunities for investors in that particular company. So obviously MicroStrategy is the largest Bitcoin treasury company, and we'll get to them in a moment because they had an amazing presentation after their Q1 at their Q1 earnings report. So we'll go over that a little bit in a moment. But we mentioned before, 21 is going to be the name of the company that is expected to launch with 42,000 Bitcoin. So it is a company that is a partnership between Tether, which is the largest stablecoin. We've talked about stablecoins over the last several videos. Tether is the largest stablecoin issuer, and they are combining with SoftBank, which is one of the largest investors out of the Asian market, and they will be launching 21 in combination through Cantor Equity Partners. And as you can see here, 21 is expected to offer investors a singular vehicle for Bitcoin exposure, pro-Bitcoin advocacy, and Bitcoin-focused content and media, with plans to explore future expansion into Bitcoin native financial products. So along the lines of strategy, they plan on continuing to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible and be able to be a Bitcoin proxy that is available on the public stock market. So currently they are under the ticker CEP, and so that is available for investors now. Obviously, you want to make sure that you do your research if you're considering investing in this particular company, but it has yet to have the 42,000 on the balance sheet, at least from what we have seen. We don't know what the next filings are going to be because obviously public companies have to have public disclosures for the assets that they have on the balance sheet. So we shall see over time, probably over their next couple of public filings, when they actually have that 42,000 Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And hopefully we'll have some more information with regards to how they continue to plan on accumulating more Bitcoin and what they plan to do with that Bitcoin as they move forward. And now another company, which was announced this past week, called Strive Asset Management. It's going to be Strive and another company that's already on the public market called Asset Management, and they're combining. So Strive is now going to be Strive Asset Management, and they will be launching a Bitcoin treasury strategy with this merger. So that ticker is ASST, and as you can see, once that announcement was made, it rose over 190% after it was announced that there was going to be a merger with the already NASDAQ listed company. The deal, structured as a reverse merger, will leave the combined company operating under the Strive name. So it's going to be, Strive, I guess. And Strive plans to build a sizable Bitcoin reserve using novel investment and financing strategies designed to limit shareholder dilution. It says one key strategy is a planned equity for Bitcoin swap available to certain accredited investors. That's something interesting. The exchange will use a tax provision known as Section 351, which allows appreciated assets to be contributed to a corporation tax-free in return for stock, subject to individual circumstances. The deal will not carry a premium to the company's transaction price, according to the announcement. So you can read along here. This article's on Yahoo Finance, but there's other information out there regarding Strive and their intention to continue to accumulate Bitcoin using the financial engineering and opportunities that public companies have to be able to raise capital and build assets on their balance sheet. So if we go to the bitcointreasuries.net, you see that we are continuing to see the growth of Bitcoin that is being added to public companies, as well as the number of public companies that are holding Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin Treasury Companies, there's going to be a difference between Strategy and 21 and Strive compared to a company like Tesla, which is a magnificent 7 company that just holds Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So there'll be plenty more, we believe, of companies that are going to be like the Teslas that are going to just buy Bitcoin and have it on the balance sheet and just save it and see it grow over time and add value to the bottom line. But then there also will be companies like these Strategies and Strives that are going to be using Bitcoin to be able to offer different types of financial instruments and products for their shareholders. So you can see here that MicroStrategy, now known as Strategy, currently has 555,450 Bitcoin on the balance sheet, but we're still seeing an addition of many more. You can see there's an update to Cooler. They are now continuing to add to their balance sheet, and you're seeing that more and more companies are being added to this list that have Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So we see that the demand is continuing to come into the space. We also learned that the first United State, New Hampshire, will be poised to be able to buy Bitcoin and have it on the balance sheet. The state treasurer now has the ability to use up to 5% of the state's fund and buy into digital assets that are of a market cap of at least $500 billion. Right now, that currently is only Bitcoin. So if they do decide to deploy those funds, they would be buying Bitcoin to have that on the on the balance sheet of the state of New Hampshire. So we know and have talked about this also in previous videos, that there are other states that have legislation on the table. It obviously takes time to pass. There's a lot of different steps that go into that, but there definitely are states that are looking into buying Bitcoin as well. We already know that pension funds around the country of the United States have been buying into Bitcoin. We know that financial institutions and banks are now having the green light to buy Bitcoin and offer Bitcoin trading and custody for their clients. So we're seeing that this is just the beginning. This wheel is really just starting to get going. And we're seeing that so many more institutions are interested, and now nation states as well are interested in buying Bitcoin and having it on the balance sheet, because we know Bitcoin at 21 million units is a finite supply, and we see that governments are continuing to print fiat dollars, so it's losing value, it's losing purchasing power. So this is a reason why a lot of these companies like Strategy are developing an accumulation strategy to try to buy and have as much Bitcoin on the balance sheet as possible. So if me and you are unable to get as much Bitcoin as we would like on our own balance sheet, we have other opportunities and proxies to be able to still take advantage of the amazing returns that Bitcoin has provided since its inception. And we can look at a company like Strategy and now a Strive and now a 21 to be able to have an opportunity through the public markets to have exposure to Bitcoin. You can see here, this is the earnings presentation from quarter one of strategy, and it actually is a really great way to learn more about Bitcoin and what it can do. And they started their strategy of buying Bitcoin in 2020. So in just under 5 years, you'll be able to see and read through what Bitcoin has done by them continuing this accumulation strategy, and what DCAing, dollar cost averaging, into Bitcoin has done to completely change and revolutionize them as a company. So you can see here that they're considered now a Bitcoin Treasury Company, and the way that they raise funds to be able to buy Bitcoin is through fixed income products. And they have debt that they issue through convertible notes, as well as now they have something called Strike and Strife, which are preferred equity products that are also available on the public markets. Similar to bonds, you can actually have exposure to these two products as well. You can buy them through the public market, and they will pay you basically a dividend, similar to like a bond, but those rates are actually a lot higher than the U.S. Treasury bond rates right now, so they are very attractive. That's why there's a possibility that Bitcoin could potentially eat into the bond market, which is a several $100 trillion market. Bitcoin is only a $2 trillion market. So if Bitcoin continues or starts to eat away at that hundreds of $1 trillion market, there's a potential, you can see the potential that Bitcoin can go from 2 trillion maybe to 10 trillion, then to 20, who knows, maybe even 100 trillion down the line. So we can see the possibilities of where Bitcoin can go, considering the type of demand and the offerings that a company like Strategy could be offering to other institutions who can only invest in these fixed income type of products. So also another way that Strategy is raising funds to be able to buy Bitcoin is through their equity, through being able to issue shares as a corporate public company. They're able to issue more shares, but what they're doing is, by issuing shares, they're actually inflating these shareholders, but through that inflation of these shares, they're buying more Bitcoin, and it becomes accretive, meaning they're able to add more Bitcoin per shareholder. So over time, that one share actually becomes more valuable because they're able to add more Bitcoin per share. And then they also have excess cash on the balance sheet that is invested as well. So if we go through some of these first few slides, and like I said, this is actually a really great, and we haven't fully gone through the slides and fully digest everything yet because it's going to take time. It'll probably will be one of those things that are taught in finance classes down the line, but it definitely can give you some basics and understanding as to what Bitcoin can do to your balance sheet. You can definitely use some of this to your own personal investment philosophy. So you can see here they currently have over 550,000 Bitcoin, and they acquired that Bitcoin over almost 5-year time frame at a total cost of $37.9 billion at a average cost basis of $68,459 per Bitcoin. And currently that Bitcoin, I believe, is worth, or as you can see here, it's currently worth over $52 billion. So basically they have, what is that, a 14 or so billion dollar unrealized gain currently just by continuing to buy Bitcoin over time. So that's nearly 50% up they are currently on those Bitcoin holdings. So you can see here, since 2020, they continue to accumulate every single quarter since quarter 3 of 2020, and they now have about 2.6% of all Bitcoin in existence, which is amazing that they've been able to do that in less than 5 years. So before this video gets too long, we definitely suggest that you go to this strategy presentation. Just go to Strategy's website and go under there, I believe it's under their investor relations page, and you can go, and they make everything available to their investors in terms of all the presentations that they have over the years, their earning presentations. You can check that out on their website. But we definitely think that it is a good way to have a better understanding of what treasury companies are doing, what it is doing compared to the other major companies in the Magnificent Seven, as well as in the S&P 500, and how it's been outperforming these companies. You can see all of these companies that are now starting to consider and have already begun their own Bitcoin accumulation strategy. And as I mentioned, you can see how they've outperformed some of the other major assets in S&P 500 stocks since they began their strategy in August of 2020. I mean, there's no comparison, basically. You look at the Mag 7, you look at some of the other major assets that people invest in, and then you look at strategy, and there's no comparison since they started their strategy in 2020. So once again, we really appreciate you watching and listening. We're going to continue to learn along with you. This is a very exciting and burgeoning asset class, something that could be very beneficial for you as you move forward in your investing journey. Make sure you do your due diligence. We're not financial advisors, but we really do appreciate you watching. As usual, check us on X as well as IG at Networkchain. We look forward to linking up with you soon on the Networkchain. Take care. Bye-bye.